Welcome to yet another episode on some fascinating aspect of Tamil Nadu and Chennai's history. We are all reeling under the impact of the pandemic called COVID. Whenever people meet, the discussion is on statistics, on how many people have got afflicted, what is the status on the vaccination, and what is the spread of vaccination, etc., etc. At the same time, we also notice several people are apprehensive about getting vaccinated. They are afraid of the vaccination. They believe all kinds of rumors. Is this new? No, it is not. 200 and odd years ago, when the smallpox vaccine came to Tamil Nadu or Madras, the reaction was just the same. This was the pandemic of its times. It used to come repeatedly to various parts of the world, and Chennai was certainly a smallpox capital. The cure for smallpox was identified in England by Dr. Edward Jenner in 1796, when he discovered that cowherds and cowherdesses did not fall victim to the pandemic. He then made a detailed study and found that cows were subject to a disease called cowpox when small pustules came up in the udder. When the cowherds and the cowherdesses went to milk, the pustules was transferred to their hands and they were infected with cowpox, which was a very mild infection. It just showed up in the form of a few rashes and a mild fever, and that was that. But what was very interesting was that those who had been infected with cowpox did not fall victim to smallpox. Having identified this, Dr. Edward Jenner extracted the fluid that was in the pustule caused by cowpox and developed the vaccine for smallpox. People did not believe in it, and therefore he inoculated his own children and demonstrated that they had become immune to smallpox. That resulted in people believing in what he said, and soon the government began to make it compulsory for everyone to get vaccinated. In 1802, the vaccine arrived in Madras city, and it was received with great fear and apprehension. Till then, this illness was considered to be because of divine wrath, and the only treatment was to appease the goddess Mahamayi by getting the patient stroked with neem leaves, so to bring down the heat in the body of the patient, and offering propitiations and prayers to the goddess. Very few people survived. When the vaccine came, people did not believe in it, and it was generally the opinion that the government was trying to increase its control over the people by administering the vaccine. Just as it is done today, the government even then took down the names and addresses of the people whom it was vaccinating, and a rumor spread that there was really no vaccine. It was only a guise to find out your personal details and therefore impose various taxes on you. People began to avoid the vaccinations, and they lived in fear of it. The British government of that time decided that if the powers of the vaccine had to be explained to the people, it required Indians, and therefore it began to appoint Indians as vaccinators. Among the first to be selected was Dr. W.S. Swaminayak. He was born in 1762, and at the age of 16 joined the medical department of the British Army as a native dresser. He would basically go along with the army and attend to sepoys who had been injured in the war. Over a period of time, he acquired basic medical skills, and he was referred to as Dr. Swaminayak. He became the vaccinator of the government, and he, along with his superior, Dr. Dalton, would then go from place to place conducting vaccination camps. Wherever they went, they met with hostility. In Tiruvuttriyur, a group of people set fire to Dr. Dalton's camp and chased him away, but Swaminayak did not flee. He stayed back, explained the powers of the vaccine to the people, and administered it to them. He also went about Georgetown in Madras, which was then the most populated area of the city, vaccinating people. At that time, a group of Armenians waylaid him and kidnapped him and released him only after some time, because they did not like his vaccinating people. But he did not give up. The government then came forward with incentives for people to get vaccinated. a bag of rice would be given to anyone who came forward to show his arm and get the vaccine administered. Just as even today people get gifts for coming to the vaccination camps. The government then went a step further and decided to incentivize vaccine administration, just as it happens today. Each vaccinator was given a reward for the number of people that he vaccinated. Swaminayak was most successful and made a lot of money in the process. Over a period of time, the vaccination spread and people began to come forward to get it administered to themselves. Swaminayak rose in the profession. The government was very grateful for all that he had done. They rewarded him with a pair of golden bracelets. They gave him the authority to travel everywhere in a silver palanquin, and he retired in 1825. He passed away in his house in Madras in 1841. This house was on the banks of the river Kuvam in an area known as Swaran. Today, many of us may be surprised that such a well-to-do man lived on the banks of the river Kuvam. But in the 18th and the 19th century, we must remember that this was a clean river and the aristocracy of Madras liked to live on its banks. At Swaran, the river suddenly turns to the north, and that became a very holy place, and the temple for Shiva as Lord Komalishwara was built, and these aristocrats began to live around it. That is where Swaminayak lived. His descendants continue to live in the same area. In the 1960s, one of them, W.S. Krishnaswamy Naidu, was a judge of the Madras High Court. He desired that there should be a memorial for his ancestor in that area, and he gave up a part of his personal property in which a park was constructed, and in the middle of the park an obelisk was built with a medallion commemorating Swaminayak. The then Vice President of India, Dr. V. Giri, came and unveiled the obelisk. It still stands as a memorial to Madras's pioneering vaccinator. By the 1960s, smallpox was an eradicated disease. I trust and hope that COVID-2 will soon become an eradicated disease. With those wishes, I say bye to you for now, and I'll be back next week with further stories on the history of Madras, Chennai and Tamil Nadu. Bye for now.